Hey guys, so sorry for the super long delay for this episode. That was totally on me. I've been on vacation for the past few days and was in the midst of editing before I left. Yeah, my apologies for future episodes. This will not happen again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hope you guys enjoy. Welcome back to the Panel Zone podcast with Zach and Ari. Today's episode, we will be discussing Invincible.
Welcome to the Panel Zone.
Alright, so can we ask you?
Where are we? You're in the Panel Zone.
Are you sure you are not a superhero or extremely gifted person?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Panel Zone. I am Zachary Omni-Man.
And I'm Ari Invincible Levinson.
I love that for you. That was gorgeous.
I know. I guess I'm invincible.
Get out!
All right. Back to the agenda.
Yes. So we wanted to give a little bit of an update due to some unforeseen stuff. Our podcast will strictly be audio only. So make sure you guys listen to it wherever podcasts are available. And let's get on with our comic recommendations.
My comic recommendation, I'm not going to lie, I definitely am recommending the same comic I did last episode, the Image Transformers comics. I actually haven't read the newest issue, but issue 18 just came out today. And I assume I'm really going to like it because I heard from others that the issue is really good. It has great story, good characters, good iteration. A lot of similar of what I said last time. Read Image's line of Transformer comics.
My recommendation is Batman Hush by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. Now, I know some of you may be like, it's a oldie, but it's a good one. It's still a great story. This is one of my favorite Batman stories. Gorgeous art by Jim Lee, best of the best. And I'm very excited to see what the sequel story is like.
One last thing. Don't forget to support your local comic book businesses. We are here recording locally at Pack Rat Comics in Hilliard, Ohio. Make sure to support comic books, comic book stores, because if they don't get money, they don't make the books. And we all know what you're here for.
So speaking of comic books, let's get into today's episode, Invincible. This is Robert Kirkman's take on the superhero genre, and I personally have been a huge fan of this series ever since I found out about it. I read an Ultimate Collection version of that. It was like the first few issues of the book, and I was like, wow, this is really, really gory. On brand for Robert Kirkman, for sure. And
he started subverting the superhero genre before a lot of other notable shows. Or actually, the comic book The Boys came out, but it was not nearly as popular a franchise as it is now. But Robert Kirkman's Invincible's always kind of been on the map. It's just been especially more popular because of the show.
Especially because of who Robert Kirkman is, big
as a writer.
Exactly. Well, I really want to get into the TV show because oh my gosh, this show is amazing. I love this show.
I would like to get my one main criticism of the series off my chest. The adaptation of the source material and the liberties they took with Amber's character. I know probably every single Invincible critic you've already heard talk about how they dislike this character. So I'm just going to do the obligatory bit. She's annoying, unempathetic. The way they did her character was annoying. Mark was getting his shit rocked, and she knew he was a superhero the whole time, which completely invalidates her argument about him not being there, because if she knew, she would know why he wasn't always able to be there, and it makes no sense. And they tried to redeem her character in later seasons, and they're still having her show up, despite the fact that in the comics she's long since stopped showing up, to try and shoehorn her in. And I really just do not care for the character and her presence in the show, because she really, in my opinion, doesn't add much.
I would agree. I think season 2 does improve her character. I just don't think that it does enough of it.
It doesn't undo the damage they did with the horrible writing
now
of
she's
her
just
character.
the girlfriend character after,
or she's just the ex-girlfriend character that shows up, and Mark has to go awkward, like
this is weird.
like that. And like, I don't know if it's because they want to keep the voice actress on the show.
Which, to be fair, we want to clarify. I personally have no problem with the voice actress for the show. I think Zazie Beetz is a great actress. I loved her on Atlanta. I loved her as Domino in Deadpool 2.
I did like her. I did like her performance as Domino, but like I don't know if they're trying to keep her character in the show because they want to keep that.
She's a big actress.
Big actress, and like I just do not care. Every single time I see her on screen, I roll my eyes. Every single time, I just can't help it. It's pretty much conditioned into me. That is the one liberty. Every other liberty they've taken, that we'll talk about more later, have been good outside of what they've done with Amber's character.
Absolutely. So I loved already season 1 off the bat. We get to expand the characters.
What a strong start.
What is the fucking start, man? Holy shit. That ending fight with the Guardians and Omni-Man, that twist, like, so unexpected, but like it's so effective of like showing you what kind of show it's gonna be. And
nobody's safe.
Why? She freaking cuts his head off. And
why?
It's
very cool. And honestly, J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man it's just impeccable
casting.
And Steven Yeun as Invincible is also impeccable. Steven Yeun, especially given the recent episode that came out last week, has shown his acting range is
so good.
It's so good because he's playing the same character over and over again, and yet he somehow makes them all distinct from each other. And that, in vocal performance alone, is amazing. And attributes to his skill as an actor.
And the voice directing alone, because they're a lot. Overall, the voice acting has been fantastic throughout. Especially, want to give an extra shout out to Gillian Jacobs as Adam Eve. I love, especially in the Adam Eve special, her voice performance in that is so good.
She was a very good casting choice.
I loved all the casting picks they picked.
Honestly, I love Rex. Who was the actor who played Rex?
Oh, Rex. Yeah, I know. I'm hold on. I know. It's I know that he's in
he was in Wreck-It Ralph 2 where he was asking the question about the tree.
He was in that regular show, the spiritual Close Enough.
Close Enough.
Yeah.
As their neighbor guy.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about good show.
Yeah. Hold on. I know it's what's his name? This guy.
Jason Mantzoukas. I don't know if I'm butchering his name. His performance as Rex Splode through and through he plays really good at douche characters. He's really good at playing douchey characters. Likeable douchey characters. I know that sounds a little oxymoronic, but trust me, watch the show and you'll understand what we're talking about.
One of the best character growths I've seen in a show in a long time. Speaking of, that's funny you brought up romances. I want to talk about the soundtrack for this show. Freaking they put out a Joji song for the Amber and Mark flying scene. It's like, I was not expecting that needle drop. They have some great song picks in this show.
They do. What was it? Karma Police? When in season 2 when Mark was flying around and stuff. That was so good.
I loved the Feel It from when Mark and Amber were flying together. I love that song so much.
That's definitely not one that's more on my radar, but I was glad that Joji's getting recognition in such a big show.
Oh, that was
in another podcast we did. We talked all about Joji and what was it? Your Artful podcast?
Yeah, the Artful podcast. Definitely.
That's just not a shoehorned advertisement.
Oh, totally not. You should totally. By the way, just happen to find Zach's Artful podcast. Definitely give it a listen. It's pretty good.
But Joji being in the show definitely is really cool because I do like it. There's a lot of Asian artists or big Asian artists in this show, with Steven Yeun and Joji / George Miller. It's really nice to see that.
Yeah, absolutely great. I like that the changed the character's background to match the actors. I think that's really cool. Like it feels.
It is cool. And also, like, it isn't, like, a super big change to where it affects the story.
Exactly.
So it feels organic. Like, you know, it's just normal, which, like, diversity in shows and stuff should just feel like, oh, it's just there. That's just how the world is.
It shouldn't make it, like, the only thing that...
It's not the focal point of, like, any character.
Exactly. Like, the character should be a character that just so happens to be that, you know?
Exactly. Like... And that's just, it's really good how, like, they handled it. I know, like, there are obviously some iffy people who are upset about it.
Of course.
But you're gonna have that in every show where there's like a race swap. It's just gonna happen.
You know, and of course, you know, it can be two mixed results. I'm not gonna act like every show that does that just does it well, but
that is true that there are lots of bad instances of it.
But like voices, like different voices should be heard.
It is an animation, so it's definitely way easier to do that and make it organic
than in live action. And that's one of the benefits of animation is that you can do so much with this medium that suspends belief than live action can.
Yeah, like there's no way Invincible would be possible in live action without like either it is seriously big budget because you know Alan the Alien and everything past like Compendium 2 of the comic book pretty much. Yeah. Because like Compendium 1, it's a lot of Earth material. There are some Inhuman people, but like the fact that the show's animated is going to be very important as a medium in later ones where the environments get way more wonky, more space-centric, you know, Tech Jacket, Alan the Alien, all Telescria as a whole.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think we should talk about like the recent. So as of recording this podcast episode, we are literally a day away from the season 3 finale of Invincible. So I don't think we are having the time to summarize the entire show from start to finish.
Yeah, no, but you guys should watch it for yourselves.
Yeah, because like we don't want to spoil it for you, because it's definitely a really good experience. So season 1 was a really good start out point. Everything was good.
Season 2 built off of the strengths of the previous season, and so far I'm very excited to see what the next season what
happens in season 4.
They're gonna have a lot of stuff going on.
Well, yeah, because I've noticed how they cover in each. There are 3 compendiums that you can get for the Invincible series. It covers about 50 issues. Each season covers about 25 issues of content. So each book is 2 seasons. So right now, as of season 3, they'll probably be about halfway through Compendium 2, and by the end of season 4, they'll be in end of Compendium 2, beginning of Compendium 3. So I can easily imagine this show going to 6 seasons minimum, if excluding specials or filler content. Yeah.
I heard they were working on a movie a while back. I haven't heard anything else about.
I actually did not hear about that. Where did you hear that from?
There was they announced it a while back around when season 1 had dropped that they were working on.
Do we know if it's a spin-off thing or if it's a movie that covers a certain period in the comics?
I don't know.
Or do we just have no information? Because this is
it was literally like dropped like back when season 1 had come out.
Robert Kirkman with his franchises keep announcing movies and stuff like the Rick Grimes movies that never happened, and instead they made the Rick Grimes TV show. Call back to episode 1, which you should watch.
He's doing an MCU. They're announcing all this stuff, and then
Rick Grimes and Invincible team up to beat Thrag. The image Secret Wars.
No, Spawn comes out of a portal.
I'm here, you son of a bitch.
I hate fucking clowns. I know it's a weird thing that they like all the other image stuff characters that appear in the comics are like censored out for other characters in the universe.
Oh yeah, where they censored out Spider-Man. Of course, Tech Jacket is a Robert Kirkman comic book series.
Yeah, and like Spider-Man stuff makes sense because like it's
and then Batman, they couldn't like show him on screen.
Yeah, right.
Because licensing
But
fees.
like Image, like it's.
Oh yeah, because they cut out Spawn.
Yeah.
They cut out Spawn and
Savage Dragon also appears in the show. I mean, in the comic, like there's a lot of tie-in stuff to other Image properties are in this.
To be fair, I entirely think it's because of licensing fee. Spawn is a pretty big comic book IP, all things considered, and they'd have to work with HBO on that because I think does HBO still have the rights to Spawn, like for like streaming and content?
I believe so. Yeah,
because that means, and it's on Prime Video, so naturally there'd be a bit of conflict of interest in having Spawn appear on a different streaming service when that's more HBO's prerogative to air movies, direct movies, and shows.
But I'm sure. Like Todd McFarlane and Robert are friends, so like I don't see why not. I don't see why not
either. There's probably a bunch of factors that we as fans outside of the scene cannot account for.
Yeah, they worked on a like a limited comic series back in the day when Robert first got into Image.
If you read the Invincible comics, it calls out a lot of other comic books, whether they're made up pretend comic books that they tell you to read, or real books that they tell you to read, like about Tech Jacket or the Guardians of the Globe, which I think had their own comic series.
Yes, they did. And I know there was another person that...
Which is why they probably look super washed in Invincible. And they're probably way cooler in their series. But like, it calls out for you to read that. And like when I read the comic book too, and from front to back, I didn't read those other series. I just read the main series.
Yeah, same here. I didn't know about any spin-off stuff until the series was wrapping
the Tech
up.
Jacket series is really good, allegedly, from what I've heard.
Okay, so I think that will definitely check that one out. I know one of the spin-offs that I read was another. I know it was like Battle Worlds, where they showed like different multiverse related stuff. That was pretty cool. There was another guy that
wasn't there in the Spawn universe where Spawn actually had to fight Invincible in his universe?
Yeah, I know there was a Marvel team up with Spider-Man that written by Kirkman. That was that was a lot of fun. I did.
Honestly, I just like Spider-Man a lot. I just like Spider-Man. So Spider-Man and Invincible, two very likable superheroes. It was just fun. It was just gonna be fun. It's just really fun.
Oh yeah, I love seeing crossovers with like properties that like make sense with each other. But yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of the changes they made, specifically with Omni-Man. Was it Omni-Man Kid?
Kid Omni Kid or Kim. I think Kid Omni-Man.
Kid Omni-Man.
AKA Oliver Grayson.
I like the changes that when I don't know, like the way he was written in the comics, he kind of like came off as like very bratty when he originally.
To be fair, in the show he is though.
But they made him more likable in the show.
Honestly, I read the comic and like it might just be his performance, but he isn't acting that estranged, in my opinion at least, from the comic. But then again, I did read through the comic book series about 2 months ago, so my memory might be a bit foggy, but I don't remember there being too much differences, maybe a little bit.
It's not like overly drastic.
And from the comic book, his character continues to evolve and develop. He is a pretty important character for a decent amount. Definitely through the second and the first half of the third compendium, he's still a very relevant character.
Yeah. So I like that it established it, like how much like a brotherly bond they're trying to establish with it between Mark and Oliver, and how involved like Debbie is in that as well. I do wish
they do give more attention to Debbie in the show.
Which
give her more characterization.
Which I appreciate that.
I actually do like that because she does get development in her depression about, Nolan, aka Omni-Man, casting her aside like a pet, pretty much. And I think I wonder how they're going to happen when Omni-Man comes back, if they're going to let Omni-Man get back with Debbie, or if she's going to stay with Paul. Because Paul, like, she was dating someone like that in the comic, but she broke up with him. So I'm wondering if they're going to break up.
I hope they don't, because, like, I feel like it would enforce a lot of...
I mean, I kind of like how Omni-Man and Debbie get back together, so I
don't know. I think they, like, the way they set things up with her moving on with grief, I don't know. It would kind of feel like it would degrade the character development that she's been going through in this iteration. But if they are going to get back together...
well, to be fair, my counterpoint to that is that Omni-Man also develops. He also develops, and I think that their development allows them to get together as the same but different people. And that's more the approach I'm thinking of and why they want to get back together. Because, you know, Paul could die, you know, they could break up over something. Like, I think it could work. I understand why they would want to take it a different direction. I mean, they're already doing that with Amber. Because trigger warning, she went through a domestic abuse thing in the comic books, and I really don't see them doing that again. Or doing that in this comic book because of the difference in how they want to portray her character.
Yeah, I feel like if they are going to do that, I think having Amber be the one to save her.
I mean, she is with a new guy, and like that could happen again, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it's not aiming to. We could be wrong, but in future.
I mean, there are other more like triggering scenes that I think should still happen, like, you know, what happens to Mark after he gets back from his 7 year escapade in the past with him and Anissa. And this isn't like to like glorify it or anything, but that is impactful to Mark being a victim of that, which causes him and his relationship with Eve to grow. And I could really see them completely trying to not do that, and I think that would be a disservice.
Very cowardly move.
To Mark, a very cowardly move to not portray that, because there are male victims of sexual abuse. And I think having representation of that in a popular show was very important, considering the already diverse cast. And I really hope they aren't going to do what I think they're going to do. But I think they could easily just try.
I think they can do it.
I think they're going to try and not do that. And I'm going to be very disappointed if they do.
I would be too, because, yeah, as you mentioned, it would be a big representation of people, male victims of SA who have gone through that. And yes, while it is triggering.
It's triggering, hard to watch, but like, there's plenty of other media that handle this well. It can be handled well. I would rather it not happen than them handle it distastefully.
Agreed.
So I will say that if it's done distastefully, that's so much worse than them not doing it altogether.
Absolutely.
Obviously, they're not going to go as in detail and show it like they did in the comic because it's TV, FCC guidelines, etc.
Yeah, at the very least, show it like off screen
or like it about to happen. Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but I hope they handle it tastefully and that they do it.
Yeah,
and that's not saying, oh, I hope no, I just think that it helps him develop his character and helps him in relationship between him and Adam Eve. Because if that doesn't happen, him and Eve don't have as much of a reason to strengthen their relationship over them moving past his trauma and them working on it. Their relationship gets healthier after they work through that.
Yeah. Eve goes through so much in that comic, man.
Her parents are terrible. Let's not forget the talk that him and Mark are gonna have. Mark and Eve's dad are gonna have on the porch.
Oh,
that conversation. I kind of want that to happen, but at the same time, it's such a
so awkward.
It's so awkward because her dad is such a
awful scumbag,
awful chauvinistic, misogynistic human being.
But he does have an impact with Eve's character development, but especially with special
in the show, he's a bit more involved, and I don't know if he's going to be as much of a dick as he is in the comics because he's like cartoonishly a dick.
Yeah,
but like. I think that would still warrant to serve what kind of person he is if that conversation were to happen, because again, that is the first time that like Mark and Eve have dinner with their parents, and like that will be important in terms of their relationship. Let's not forget that Adam, Eve, and Mark are the end game relationship. It is here. Yeah. They will be together on and off for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Unless they do something stupid, like if they do anything like break them up, I will lose my shit.
I
doubt it, but like that would be such an egregious bad
so
choice.
Wild. Just built up that relationship just to like break it off. Like,
I mean, technically they do go on and off because when Mark's
because of the time travel stuff,
because of the time travel stuff, and because of other things like the baby that happens.
Yeah,
that's a rocky period in their relationship. So I mean, they're a bit on and off and some down periods at times, but in a long running relationship, it feels like for it to be organically written, it makes a lot of sense. In the comic book, the relationship is really good. Mark's super supportive and a really good husband and father. Right. And Eve is a really great mother and wife and life partner for Mark. They really are like
the yin
and yang made for each other.
Absolutely. So I'm very interested to see what the show will do going forward. How did you feel about Cecil?
So I think Cecil is acting pretty similarly to what he does in the comics. Because like when the fight that they had where the chip in Mark's brain, that happens in the comics. Their fight's pretty much exactly the same. Eventually, I know Mark's getting pissy and it seems hypocritical of Mark to not forgive Cecil. But at the same time, he was like that in the comics. He was hypocritical like that in the comics. It's not inaccurate. So I know it could be a focal point of annoyance with Mark's character. But at the same time, he did the exact same thing in the comic.
Exactly.
And I will not. I'll talk. If you don't want to be spoiled for the show, I assume you're not watching this podcast. Yeah. So I'm going to get into some spoil. Eventually, Mark does go back to work for Cecil because of what happens between him and Conquest and the destruction. And so he says, Mark feels bad and says he's willing to let himself be chipped again with the buzzing chip that's in his head because of the destruction he doesn't want to cause, and that working with Cecil will help things again. So, but that happens after Conquest, so that probably won't happen until either the end of the season finale that airs tomorrow, or in season 4 where that becomes prevalent, where Mark and Cecil sort of make up again.
Yeah, semi makeup.
They become work partners again.
Yeah,
but that probably won't happen until the beginning of season 4. It probably will not.
Probably
happen.
won't.
With that said, I'd like to talk strictly about the comic book now.
Yes, it's really fun to see the evolution of the artwork.
Because the artwork seriously changes, like from the first to the second book. Because first of all, I think it improves. Very much improves.
Just like I feel like the writing overall, it improves as the more it goes along. Because I love Ryan Oatley's artwork. I love the stylized line work that it has. I love the shape work that it has with the characters. It makes it pop out a lot.
Cory Walker primarily did the artwork, right? Was it Cory Walker or Ryan Otley?
Cory Walker, I think, did the started out,
and then it switched to Ryan Otley taking over. Primarily.
Yeah, because it's a similar art style, but then they both improved.
I think they both improved, but also Ryan kind of took control because his was a little bit more detailed. Obviously, when we're talking about our next episode, a little sneak hint, it is another Image comic, so we might reference Invincible and maybe our thoughts about the episode.
Right. And our may or may not guest member will be confused of what we will be referencing about it.
But that's a little sneak hint. Either way, I feel like the panel zone is collapsing. We got to get out of here.
We got to swim out of this panel zone. So thank you all for listening. Make sure you support the show, sharing it, giving it 5 stars to boost us in the algorithm so we can get out of this dadgum panel zone. Make sure you listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. This has been the Panel Zone.
And also, like I said in the beginning, don't forget to support your local comic book stores and support Pack Rat Comics in Hilliard, Ohio.
Yes, thank you, Pack Rat, so much for letting us record here, transmitting our message from the Panel Zone to you lovely listeners. And this has been the Panel Zone. We're gonna do it.
I guess I'm not invincible in the Panel Zone.